In the beginning, it was only smoke, a black haze that moved against the wind, lingering in places it shouldn't. For decades, humanity ignored the warnings, until the smoke began to think. It began to feed. This is the story of the black smoke entity invasion. It begins in 1903, deep in the Siberian wilderness. Villagers near Tunguska reported an oily mist rising from the frozen ground, days before the mysterious explosion that flattened miles of forest. Some swore they saw shapes moving inside the darkness, twisting and breathing as if alive. The event was dismissed as a meteor, but old journals described the air itself as whispering. 40 years later, in 1943, the United States Navy conducted the Philadelphia experiment. Witnesses claimed the ship vanished in a haze of black vapor. When it reappeared, several crewmen were embedded in steel, others were missing, and a dark fog hovered above the water. Survivors described it as magnetic, alive, and cold. In 1957, a coal mine in Yorkshire collapsed. Miners who escaped said the tunnels filled with smoke that crawled like water. Their bodies were found covered in soot, but their lungs were clean. The smoke had passed through them, leaving no trace. The legend of the Black Breath was born. By 1966, the phenomenon reached America. In Point Pleasant, West Virginia, weeks before the Mothman sightings, residents noticed a black mist hovering above the Silver Bridge. When the bridge collapsed, witnesses said the mist rose upward, as if feeding on the fear below. The entity was adapting. In 1971, CIA documents under Project Stargate described smoke forms that clustered near psychic experiments. Remote viewers claimed the entities were drawn to human thought, feeding on emotion, particularly fear and confusion. The files were sealed under a program known as Blackgate. Then came 1983. Inside the Vatican, a monk conducting late-night prayers reported a shadow forming from incense smoke. It hissed his name before he collapsed. Security confiscated the tapes, labeling the presence Umber Day, the shadow of God. In 1991, as the oil fields of Kuwait burned, satellites captured smoke plumes spiraling into geometric patterns, forming shapes that ignored wind. Soldiers claimed to hear whispers inside the black sky. It was the first large-scale manifestation of smoke entities feeding on war itself. By 1999, Chernobyl had become their altar. Workers near Reactor 4 reported seeing a vortex of living soot that pulsed like a heartbeat. Radiation levels briefly dropped, as if the entities were absorbing energy, before spiking again. 2 years later, during the September 11th attacks, firefighters reported shadows moving opposite the wind through the dust and smoke. Photos later showed strange dark forms stretching against the sky. A FEMA memo described cohesive particulate behavior beyond natural physics. Then silence. Until 2013, satellite footage revealed a growing smoke vortex emerging from Siberian permafrost, the same coordinates as Tunguska. Russian forces sealed off the zone, calling it the Zone of the Black Breath. In 2017, at CERN, a containment failure released a dense black fog. Cameras recorded the smoke forming tendrils, almost curious, almost aware. 3 researchers vanished. The event was classified Level 6 containment. By 2020, during the wildfires across Australia and California, satellites detected strange patterns in the smoke, patterns that formed Morse code. When decoded, it spelled one word: return. In 2023, the city of Chicago experienced a power grid failure. Residents called 911, describing black silhouettes rising from storm drains. Some said they could hear the smoke breathing. The city blamed methane ignition, but surveillance footage showed figures walking through the fog before vanishing. In 2024, a military satellite detected a black column rising over the Arctic Circle. A research plane entered it and disappeared. Survivors from a nearby base reported hearing chanting through the wind, ancient words that froze the air itself. Then came 2025. April marked the beginning of the invasion proper. Across the world, reports poured in of black smoke forming human-like shapes. They could mimic voices, appear as shadows, and pass through walls. Scientists named them anomalous etheric organisms, but soldiers called them the silent breath. By September, synchronized power failures swept across North America every night at midnight. The skies turned dark with thousands of smoke clouds converging over the Pacific before dissolving into the air. October brought the silent assimilation. People began disappearing, entire families, leaving only human-shaped soot outlines on walls and ceilings. Governments denied everything. The few who knew called it the hour of the breath. The year ended with humanity on its knees, surrounded by smoke that was no longer just a presence. It was intelligence. It remembered, it learned, and it spoke through static. After 2026, the sun dimmed unnaturally. Global temperatures fell, crops failed, and whispers filled the wind. Psychics said the smoke had begun learning our memories, using them to replicate human emotion. Survivors built underground colonies, filtering the air with ultraviolet light. The last known transmission, dated July 2027, came from a research bunker beneath Norway. The message said, "It's not smoke. It's a language we were never meant to understand." The transmission ended in silence, then static that seemed to breathe.